paragraph 62, reception by a sinner. Luke 7:36-50. For how many of you was this a familiar passage? You remember hearing this or reading this before? Okay, not well, we saw not very many, then more hands go up. All right, so I'm not sure how many of you actually have read this before to see whether it was surprising or not. All right, let's look at the questions together. Number 16, what 4 things did this sinful woman do to Jesus? Now, normally, if you saw that question apart from this context, you'd think, oh, this sinful woman attacked Jesus. So that's not the intent of the question, right? The 4 things that she did were good things. So give me one. Landon.
I have that she began to wet Jesus' feet with her tears.
Exactly. Now, did you try to picture that? What that would be like for a woman to be crying and her tears falling on his feet? She must have been crying a lot to have that happen. And from what we see later, why was she crying? What caused her tears? And her sins. She recognized who Jesus was and how sinful she was. I wonder how many of us have ever been to that point where we recognize our sinfulness to the point of tears. All right, so that's the first thing. What's the second one? Haley?
She wiped them with her hair.
Yeah. Of course, women had long hair back then. They didn't cut it. So she used her hair as a towel. Wet his feet so much that she used her hair to dry it off. And then what's the third thing? Griff?
Kissed his feet.
Kissed his feet. Yeah. And then the fourth one? Noah?
Anointed his feet with ointment.
Right. And what do we know about this ointment? I didn't ask any questions about that, but as you look back at the verses here, how many of you know, it says that she brought an alabaster flask of ointment. How many of you are familiar with alabaster? You know what alabaster is? Yeah, I wish I'd have thought to get a picture of it for you. It's really beautiful stone that craftsmen hollow out and shape so they can make jars out of it. And if they can make it thin enough that if you put a light in it, the light shines through. It's really pretty. When we were in Egypt, our guide took us to an alabaster shop, and just beautiful items. At one point, the owner of the store turned off all the lights, so all the alabaster jars that had lights in them were on, and just really beautiful. Expensive. And so she had an expensive flask with expensive ointment. I'm not sure exactly what that was, but some sweet smelling thing. All right. Any questions about that? You have a question, Brandon? You look like you're ready to put your hand up. You ready for the next answer? Well, it wasn't it either?
No.
Number 17, what was the point of Jesus' story of the moneylender and the debtors? What was the point? What was he trying to get across? What did you put for that? Nate, what'd you have?
I had to know what sort of woman she was.
Well, everybody knew what sort of woman she was. That wasn't the point of the story. What was the point of the story? Mia?
To prove not only her love, but also that he forgives everyone.
Okay, the point of the story is not that he forgives everyone. That wasn't the point of the story either. Because he doesn't forgive everyone.
I meant like forgive sinners.
Forgive sinners. Okay,
They
that's
ask for forgiveness.
yeah, that's more the point. But I'm not sure that anybody's really stated yet the full issue here. Somebody else, Brenna?
No matter how many sins you have, if you humble yourself and ask forgiveness, Jesus will forgive you.
Okay, that's part of it. That's the first part of it, but then what's the rest of it? Jesus says really what the point is here. When he asks Simon a question, Brenna?
He loved so more that she had great sin and she still approached him.
Yeah, the one who is forgiven, in other words, the more you're forgiven, the more love you have. Maybe that's part of our problem. Those of us that grew up in Christian homes and were in a Christian school, maybe we don't love God like we should because we don't realize how sinful we are. Because we've never done anything really, really bad, and like some people. So Jesus points out that when you are forgiven much, you love much. By the way, even if we haven't done anything really, really bad, we're still really, really sinful. Maybe it's not as obvious as a gang member who's selling drugs and killing people, but all of us are really, really bad sinners before coming to Christ. Even as a 5-year-old or 6-year-old. Number 18. All right, how many had an answer for number 17 that includes both the idea that she had a lot to be forgiven, but also that she loved a lot because of that? All right, it seemed to have problems with this, so we'll give you a bonus point on that one, those that got it. Number 18. What did Jesus do for the woman? Stephen?
He forgives her sin.
Right. Any question? All right, number 19. Did the fact that her sins were many prevent her from being forgiven by Jesus? I hope everybody got this right. Who should I call on? Sean?
No.
No. That's right. Number 20. How did the Pharisees react to Jesus' forgiveness? Amelia?
We question him.
They questioned him. I think, is there another word that's used there? I can't find it. What verse is that in?
49.
It's
Oh, I said at the beginning. Okay, they say, "Who is this who forgives sins?" Okay. So they questioned. Basically, they're questioning if he had the right to do that, right? Because what's the implication of what they're saying? He doesn't have the right to forgive sins, or who must he be if he does? Because as you know from other scriptures, when they confront Jesus another time, what did they understand correctly as the only one who can forgive sins? Who's the only one who can forgive sins?
God.
God. And here Jesus is forgiving her sins. So that created a question in their mind. Anybody else have another answer for that as to how the Pharisees responded? I looked at it from the standpoint of what their feeling was, and I said they were responding with indignation. They were looking at him with some condescension. That's my impression of what they were saying anyway. Any question about your answer, number 20? Anybody? All right, 21, what did Jesus tell the woman? Zach?
Your faith has saved you. Go in peace.
Yeah, exactly it. Any question? All right, number 22, making it personal. What does this passage tell you about forgiveness? Anybody have something I'd like to share? Brenna?
And no matter how many times you sin, how great your sin is, if you go to Jesus humbled and in faith, he will forgive you.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else? All right, how many of you wrote down an answer for number 22? All right, I'm going to give you a point for writing down an answer. I'm not going to ask you what you said. because it's personal. Number 23, another personal question. How much do you need to be forgiven? In other words, do you believe the penalty for your sin is great or small? Anybody want to share their answer on that one? Sean?
The penalty for any sin is death.
Ah, so that tells you how great the sin is, right? Even the smallest sin is worthy of death. That's a good point. Anybody else want to share what they have? All right, if you wrote something down, you get a point. If you didn't, take off a point. Same with 22. All right, so that gives us 4, 5, 10 points, because I think that takes into account one that was not counted. It was simply a bonus. Is that correct? My official counters?
Yeah.
All right, 10 points. All right, so I want to call on your name, and please tell me what you have. Let me give you the assignment for next time. Maybe you want to start looking at that. I'm giving you some extra time today to work on it. We're going to complete section D, Witness to the King, paragraph 63, which is numbers 24 and 25. Section E, Rejection of Christ and his offer by the leaders, paragraph 64, numbers 26 to 30. Section F, Request for a sign by the leaders, paragraph 65, 31 and 33, 233. And G, Rejection of the nation by Christ, which is paragraph 66, numbers 34 to 37. So it sounds like we're covering a lot of territory, but there are not very many questions. Okay, let me get your responses. Well, let me ask you this. How many of you didn't miss any? Is that everybody? Okay. What, did your hand up?
No, I just missed one.
You missed one, okay. Anybody else? All right, let me ask this. Is there anybody else, in case I missed seeing you? Anybody else who missed any? All right, great, get to work.